I am Bevann Fox, Bevannfox. I am from Paipot First Nation originally, and now from Pasqua First Nation. And I am a manager for prevention programs. I love working with families and children. I have a team that helps create projects that help keep children from going into the social services system and helps keep the children with their families in the community, in their First Nation communities. So I like that part of what I do. I feel that is very important, that connection, and that's one of the things I work. Our whole program's focused on that culture and identity big time, because that's one of the most important for me, because I had to go, my first years of my life was in a residential school, so I lost all the, my foundation, my identity, I might as well say my identity, because the whole focus was to rid of that cultural identity about myself, like being Cree, and my grandparents, all their teachings. I lost all that when I was in the school. So that's so important to me today, because now I have that about me. So I had to go back. I had to go back to my community, to my First Nation, and to the land, and go through ceremonies to find myself, to help heal. But it wasn't like one night it wasn't like one weekend or one day. It was like a whole over years to get to heal from the trauma from the school. In my community, they have practices like different. Cultural practice to me is like the way we live, our traditions. We have feasts, we honor our elders. We have ceremonies, the regular ones every year. We have the big lodge I think it's in June every year, in June or July. And everybody goes to those. So it's like a big reunion, or actually it's like a 3-day ceremony. So I think it's like in all that we do in the community. And I could do it here in the city, but being in a closed space, I can't do very much here, but maybe smudging, prayer. I want to learn my language. I want that to come back. I can speak it some days, and when I can speak it, I call my aunt, who's 94 years old, and she's fluent Cree. So I'll phone her and talk to her in Cree. Or I could phone her, call her anytime, and ask her about Cree words or sentences. But then she's so funny, because she'll say, "Oh, let me think about it." And then she'll have to call me back, because the Cree is so different. The wording is so different. I did participate in ceremonies, ceremonies in my First Nation back home. And I had to go back. I wrote this book, and how important it was to go through my healing, going back to my culture and practicing the ways. But I had to be taught again. I had to learn. And I'd like to learn my Cree language. I really, really want that. Well, if they could learn about themselves, connect with their nation, connect with elders, find out. There's always somebody who knows somebody. If they mention their last name, people make connections right away, right? That kinship's so important. And if they're older people, they'll tell you sometimes who you are. They'll say "Oh, I know your family," and they'll go way back just by the name, because each name that we have, say Fox, people could tell me stories about my ancestors, and so someone will be there that knows. Usually there's somebody there to help you with that connection. There's so much to unlearn. There's so much, we have to kind of reprogram ourselves. For me, that's what I had to do, is reprogram, relearn. I wrote this book to help with that, because it takes you on a journey being what it's like in that residential school. It's very, there's not like a whole chapter on the pain and trauma, but there's a lot on the healing. And a lot of people, even the non-nation people, can relate to this. Like I wrote this book, Genocidal Love. I documented, went through back the trauma, visiting my trauma as a way of healing. And I wanted to leave it like a legacy for my children and grandchildren, that if they went through cycles from the residential school, that they could, if they read this book, things will make sense. Like they'll start to see a pattern. So more awareness, I guess, learning about the self like I did, a lot of searching and going back and reliving, even facing the pain, and going back to the cultural practices in the wherever they're from. Like myself, I went back to the nation and I documented that in here too, all the healing. And healing also from the Western type, like therapist. I have a few therapists that I can call on. I have elders I can call on that worked with me and took me on this journey of healing. Like they actually took me into ceremony, and like it was in Manitoba, and I stayed there with them for like a month at this camp. So and every day, every other day was like a ceremony. But the one ceremony they took me through was 4 days, 4 nights. And it really helped to get a lot of the pain and looking at myself and getting it out, facing it. So it was a lot of crying and healing when I went through that. So that was like going back to the land. I was very fortunate to find people that helped me, but that was like after searching and asking for help. So I took 11 years to write this book, and it was published by the University Regina Press, and it's really doing well out there on the shelves. Like people are actually reading it, and it's helping people. So this is one way. Like I know I've read it myself 4 times, and it's used in some schools too. The name of this book is Genocidal Love, A Life After Residential School. So it's based on like fiction, based on true events, because I went through the residential school claim process. So I had to sign some document there about not saying negative about the church. And so we had to put fiction on it. So just names were changed, and I added some fun fiction humor too in here, like how to find a good Indian man. Things like that, and some crazy funny moments with my friends in here, just to kind of, like, it's not all about trauma, it's about healing and humor, how Indigenous people, we share this humor, like a lot of laughter too is healing. So this really helped me writing, journaling, a lot of journaling, writing every memory down. There's still so much racism here, and it's every day, and sometimes I think it's getting worse, and it shouldn't be, because I talk to groups too about reconciliation, and I'm really honored when the non-Indigenous companies contact me, and I'll do a introduction of myself and the book and about the residential school and that whole ideology and how it was meant to destroy our cultures. So I do meet with them, and I like that they're reaching out and wanting to learn about what happened, like the truth. And especially if they're like a huge organization, like I've had one with all across Canada, this one company, everybody came in, the numbers were just growing. We're talking about the residential schools and its effects and can they do today, and they asked me what can they do. So I think more awareness about the residential school and that threat that we were, like, I think we're a threat to people. That ideology is there, and so there's a lot of that discrimination, racism, stereotype is that threat of us. Because so that is there, and it turns into a threat, right? So we're always targeted in stores and even in, working In Regina, here mostly was stores. Like I had a lot of terrible incidents when I go into stores with my grandkids. But usually I address it right away and just ask them, not in a, I just ask them, what is the problem? And I'll ask for the manager because I feel like we're not being treated right, fairly. So right away I'll address it like that. But yeah, there's so much to say. Like, I don't know. Read a lot of books. There's a lot of books out there from Indigenous authors that are telling their story. And I think, like for me, I'm always going to be healing because I'll still have the nightmare or a trigger. But I know what it's about, right? So I'll have to look at that in myself. Because I'm just so glad I'm alive today. Like I could have been one of the little girls that, was buried there. They're finding these unmarked graves. That could have been me. And then I have my children today and my grandchildren, 4 grandchildren. So I feel like I'm really lucky to have survived that, and others didn't. And sometimes I feel that sadness for them, like an overwhelming pain for them. And I just hope that they're at peace. But I can't help but think about it, that I know survivor. Sometimes I don't like that title, but I did. Like many of us survived. And then there's many of us still in that cycle, like addictions, domestic violence. It's like it's there, or poverty. So I could say so much about it, but most of it is said in my book. So if you start reading it, pick it up. It can be bought at Indigo's online and at Cole's bookstore. When I wanted something different, like nothing was changing. I was going through depression. I was going through like cycles of depression, and I was searching for help all the time. And that's what led me back to the land, back to my culture, back to ceremonies. And it's just that continuous searching because something was not right. Like I found myself in cycles of domestic violence, cycles of addiction. I was living all those, and I just was tired of it, and I just wanted more to life. My children were born, and I just needed to change. I wanted to be happy. So I had to break those cycles to find happiness, to find some peace in myself. So that's what made me I wanted to live, because I don't think I would be here because of that either. Sure, survived the residential school, but what about now? Like all that trauma and that cycle, I call it cycle of genocidal effects, are still continuing today. And that's what I was in that. And that I had to stop because I wanted to feel better, tired of being depressed. And it worked, going back and healing and writing. I guess I found my own way. And still today I find my own way. Like sometimes I'll just be alone, like nobody around me, because I like it, because it's nice and peaceful. And there was a time I couldn't be alone. Like I didn't see it as a nice, quiet, retreating time. You know what? I was seeing therapists. I was going to therapy, and it was helping me, but still something was missing. So I remember reaching out to my nation community, and the Cookum, the grandmother I talk about in here, is her grandson. So he and his wife came and helped me, and they started to, smudge the house, and actually, yeah, it was when my son passed away, when my son was killed, is where that was the time that everything, depression and grief and everything was so impacted. Like I was already in therapy, but it just magnified because it was the worst trauma ever that I've ever experienced in my life, is losing my son. So they helped me, they connected me, and I felt that right away. Like I felt safe there, and I continued with, whatever they suggested. Go to ceremony, take tobacco, take your cloth, and go see this lady, and she'll help you. Just ask her. And she did. Like she worked with me at home and helped me, with my healing. And it wasn't just somebody praying for me. Like I had to go back and go to those places inside and just face it. But with the grief, I think with the grief that started it, the loss of my son, because I thought, I can't live like this. It was just too great of a pain. And still to this day, like I miss him, but I know like I can take care of myself. So yeah, that's something you never forget, but yet I learned to live with it. Just like with the school effects. I would just reach out to them. If they asked me, I would help them. I would, like I did a couple times, I helped young women connect with elders, female elders, male elders, the ones, because our elders work differently. There could be some for the mind, the mental, maybe the physical, the heart, like different areas. They're like doctors. The medicine doctors are the ones that are in our communities. So I would tell them to reach out, maybe the local, if they don't know anybody at all, maybe reach out to their local friendship center, or if they have a native organization in the city or town, to reach out, or call their nation. To be understanding and learn. There's so much information out there. There's books, there's online information. The calls to action, go through the 94 calls to action. Is it 94 or 91? 94. And just read through, because that was out 2015. Like even I go through it sometimes just to keep that fresh in my mind. Like have a study group on that maybe, or a noon hour at the workplace. Talk about the calls to action. Today we're going to talk about calls to action 1 at the noon break, a lunch teaching, whatever. Lunch and learn, they call it. And then have books. There's websites. I know some people like to read, or speakers. Reach out to, like myself, survivors from the school, and invite them to come and share at the workplace. What else? Have a book club. Get a group together and have a book club and read Indigenous books on this. What else? To tell others, right? Just to be aware and just keep educating yourself on residential schools, on truth and reconciliation. Like what is, and I say this too, what are you going to do? Like what can you do to be accountable to the calls to action? How did I say that? It was somebody else's quote from the university, and I asked her if I could use it. What can you do? How can you be accountable to the calls to action? What could you do? So that's a question back, I guess. No, I just thank you for this opportunity to share parts of my story.